I call the shots, I never call it quits. Trust my intuition, bet it's right and bitch, it often is. Seen too many others come and go, they had the wrong intent. Do it out of love and never for it, then I watch it get bigger than expected. No second guess it, I let it set in. It's God's plan, we out here only accepting blessings. I'm stuck with it, this mindset is terminal. In and out different terminals, leveling up is personal. And I already made it, y'all can miss me. I smack my girl's ass, tell her pinch me. It's hard to believe I made something from nothing. No hindsight discussions, I've been writing, I love it.
Ooh, welcome to the 3 Gig Sports Podcast, where we are never wrong, just sometimes misinformed. We've got the OGs in the house tonight, baby.
Yeah.
OGs.
All three together. It's been a little while. Everybody's had crazy shit going on. So it's good to be in the studio, man. We got a lot to catch up on.
Absolutely. Been 10 days or more since the last one, since the magician and
Yeah.
the priest. Then before that, we just had you have holidays. You have Mitsubishis that don't like to run. They get angry.
Guess what?
What?
Figured it out.
What was it?
I can't even explain it to you. It takes too much time right now. But basically, Marv is a fucking genius, and he figured it out tonight. So we got her going.
Was it anything parts-wise?
Remember those 2 connections that were like chewed through or whatever?
Yeah.
We're like, okay, those are AC compressor. One of them, even though it does not connect to the starter at all, is definitely responsible for the starter fucking turning over. And so at last-ditch effort, he's like, let's fucking try this tonight. Plug that in and splice some wires, and it fucking tried to turn over tonight. So he's getting that shit like soldered together, plugging it in, and we've got a running car, motherfucker.
There we go.
Heck yeah.
Just a reminder, though, if you have a choice between getting a true American vehicle, and for multiple reasons why I say this, too, because they put the parts on the weirdest ends of this damn car. They had to take the top half of the motor and everything around assembly off to get to the starter.
Yeah, we had to tear in half basically to get down to it, which was cool. I haven't worked on a car like that in a long time, so that actually was nice. I didn't mind that. But when we look up anything online, to your point, around this Mitsubishi, you can't find shit. You cannot find shit.
Hold on, when you do, what language was it?
Yeah. You're like, I need to use Google Translate to tell me. Fucking, it's like if you find anything, you accidentally stumble across it. It's not what you're looking for, but you happen to click on some shit and it takes you, 3 pages further, and then all of a sudden, oh, that's exactly what the fuck I just asked for. Oh, man, it's been wild, but we finally got that figured out. Tomorrow, we'll have the second vehicle going again, but...
Here we go.
So that excuse is gone.
It was looking, I would say, it was looking a little golf cartish. I know a guy that had a golf cart that had the same type of electrical issues for a couple years.
Yeah.
It's fixed now. She's gone, and I haven't heard any complaints.
I haven't heard any complaints yet. So
not yet.
So there wasn't much of a golf season left. So I'm still worried until the first month is wrapped up in the spring.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's
That they're
only a
like,
potato.
motherfucker, you stored it. It was running perfect. I don't know what your problem is.
It was so cold around Christmas. It was like -50. That probably did something.
And they probably fried something up in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys ready to roll?
Let's fucking do it, man. I'm excited.
All right. We're going to kick off with a big one. And I'm going to venture to guess this one's going to get warm.
Nah.
It's cold in here, man.
Yeah. Crazy.
Broncos fire coach Nathaniel the Problem Hackett after 4-11 start and a demolishing defeat to the Rams in the form of 51-14.
Mm-hmm. Led by the one and only Baker Mayfield.
Comeback player of the year, man.
Right after just a couple games. I don't know if you guys noticed this before we get into the Broncos and the Nathaniel Hackett part of it. But the first week he shows up there, they was only there for 2 days, and that whole telecast was like, oh my God, how smart he was, because he wasn't even wearing a wristband. And I'm like, dude, they called 7 plays. That was probably the same playlist that was on his arm when he was 7 years old throwing a football.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But regardless.
ISO 33 is the same no matter where you go.
Right.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? We're just going to talk plain English for this. Well, then he comes from behind in that one. They get a victory. But what I'm getting at is, did you notice that they didn't say anything real negative about it the next week when they got dumped on? Mm-hmm. And that was an extra week worth of learning the offense.
Right.
And he looked like shit. But then he goes and does this to a Broncos team that obviously packed it in. I don't know how else you could put that. And lights them up. And what I mean by lights them up, that was like one of his best average games ever. Because I think it was like a 2-touchdown performance.
Yeah.
So
percentage, I mean, he completed, what?
He did
75-80% of his passes, which is
he did.
awesome. But other than that, you're right. I mean,
everything was pretty safe. I watched a lot of that game. Wasn't too many,
I think,
tight windows he had to throw to. They did a lot of heavy play action, going to a tight end, going short, and stuff like that. So,
yeah, it makes sense because that was probably Cam's best game of the year too, right? So if you can run the ball that well, shit's gonna be easier in the passing game.
Didn't he have 3 tutties in this one?
Yeah, he went off.
So he'll get himself a contract issue. You guys are thinking about trading me, but back to Nathaniel Hackett and the Broncos.
Mm-hmm.
Should they have done this right now?
No, I think you wait till you wait till the end of the season. I mean, why? I guess what is the reason?
That's what my question was about to be to you. Like, why did they do it then? Because I think most of us feel like your first year, you're gonna get I'm gonna give you the first year, and we'll see how the team responded. You might not get a second year, but you're gonna get the full first year, right?
Right. I think just expectations were too high, and I'll admit I was on them too.
So
beginning of the year, expectations were so high coming off the previous year. Your defense is supposed to be good. You got playmakers all over the defense. You got playmakers all over the offense, and then arguably you go and have an upgrade. What you think is an upgrade at quarterback, you bring in an offensive guru that is going to open all our offensive players up. We bring in a better quarterback, and then to basically shit the bed. I think they're like,
Hey, can you remember
shit the bed and roll in it?
Yeah.
Like that was.
I was gonna say, have you seen something this bad? Like the way it looked like it was supposed to be. I'm not talking about speed bumps. This has been a shit show from the start, from the jump, and it's progressively gotten worse. When your defense gives up 51, and that's the only reason why you were in the game for over half the season, and then you have players trying to fight after the game, you have your own players fighting against each other on the sidelines during the game. I think that's where he lost his job. Not necessarily the 51, but when you can't keep your team composed against themselves and against the other team after the game's over, I think that's where they're like, all right, locker room's gone. There's no reason. Might as well just get this done with now and then try to get on the hunt is where my thought was.
Yeah, he has not done a good job. He's been terrible, right? And I think that game against the Rams solidified that the entire team is done this year. They packed it in, as you just said, right? But I do feel a little bit bad for him. I wish that I've been dogging on Russ all year because he's been fucking terrible and because of those expectations, right? But legitimately, I wish he had a quarterback who saw the open receivers and made the plays that maybe they were designed to make and things like that. So you could see, would this have worked out based on what you talk about with spacing, with all the talent and things? But it's been bad.
He's not the same player as what he was in Seattle. I was watching that game, and I mean, he threw a horrible pick in the end zone he could probably ran for 10 yards. He could have ran for the first down. It was like 3rd and 4 or something like that, 2nd and 4. But he could have ran for 10 yards probably. The middle linebacker who was as first spying him, but the running back come out. He took him. Corners over here, and safety has the guy over the top, wide open lane, and he chucks it in the end zone where 2 guys are on one of them, and Ramsey comes down with it and is like, why? What? Why are you doing that?
Yeah, I saw a few plays where players were wide open for like shorter plays, right? And specifically Sutton, I think, was one of them that I can think of right now where he's like jumping up and down. Russ throws it God knows where, somewhere else, and he's all pissed. He's jumping pissed. Yeah. I think this goes to show you like the shorter quarterbacks, if they lose, and I think it seems like Russ has lost his mobility, right? When they lose their mobility, they haven't been proven to be good pocket quarterbacks, and Russ is an example. He's terrible as a pocket quarterback. Yeah. He's way better as vintage rush, being able to run around.
Without a solid
or at least a
play action,
legit threat of he's going to run.
Fair, yeah.
So what I was going to tell you was the one thing when I was reading up, because I had plenty of stuff to counter, like all the stuff you're talking mad shit on social media, But in that, like, more serious breakdown of what you're talking about, and it confirms exactly what you guys were saying, is that he kept, for whatever reason, feeling like he had to win on every throw. Like, and it had to be, he had to show he was, I don't know if it was to show that he was worth the money, to show that we're going to go to the next level right now, instead of taking, and it wasn't just like the wide open receiver even. It was more specifically, he wasn't dumping off to his running back ever when he was doing that in Seattle. He wasn't taking the wide, and to the point of I was watching some of the video, like they were pointing out, like the defense was even guarding the running back, knowing that he wasn't even going to throw it that way. You know, he wasn't taking what the defense was giving him. He's trying to make a superhero play out of everything. The one thing I was going to tell you is his bad, horrible season still has produced 3,000 yards and still under double-digit interceptions.
Barely. 12-9, I think, is what
12
he's
and 9.
at.
But what I'm also going to get at is the man in 11 years still hasn't thrown 100 interceptions. That's insane.
Yeah.
Over 40,000 yards passing, still has not thrown over 100 interceptions. Even in a bad year right now.
I mean, I don't think it's that surprising with beast mode being over in Seattle, and they were so run heavy.
Well, no, I mean, even throughout his 4,000-yard passing seasons, he has 4 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4. Only two of those had double-digit interceptions. One of them, and it was a 40 touchdown, 13 interception. Another one was, he only had 21 touchdowns and 11 interceptions, but he had like a 34 and 8 with 4,000. So there towards his peak was as impressive as you could get.
Yeah. And
actually, he has more, like, my point is, like, the 3-to-1 ratio, that just doesn't exist. He has over 300 touchdowns, too. Mm. I think this is fixable is also what I'm getting at, because you said he wasn't taking the plays that are there, right?
Yeah.
I think it's fixable, so they got rid of the right guy. I believe they should have gotten rid of him a little bit sooner, but usually they just don't do that. But I think that was the stamp they needed. They saw, they're like, all right, we're not even the ones that hired you. You know, because the ownership group came in after that, right? If I remember right. Yeah. So, like, now we're done. You have the players swinging. You have them, like, beating each other up on the sidelines. You get blown out by the shitty Rams with Baker Mayfield, who got thrown to the curb, right?
Yeah.
With no offensive line, mind you. And that defense that's been so damn stout all year long didn't get one single sack on that horrible offensive line that we've been teasing Miles all year long about.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay. So here's my rebuttal to that. It's not fixable because Russ thinks he's more than he is. He's still, if he's willing to build a relationship with the receivers and figure out shit, then in that situation, maybe he'd be able to fix some things. But he still has that bravado where I don't know if you can talk to him yet, or do you still have to talk to his team, right? As a player, I don't know if he still has that. And imagine coming into a locker room and having that, and you act like you're fucking Tom Brady or something, but you've been terrible all year. I don't know how well the team is going to respond if he does decide to change his stance and come around and build a relationship and build a camaraderie so we can fucking figure things out. It seems like he is so arrogant. I don't know if he can come back and do that, man.
I'm thinking the way this is painted, the image, I believe he's going to. If he doesn't, then it's going to be a real quick. He'll get a real quick yank next year and he'll be done. Because the next person that comes in, you also have to remember, also isn't the one that brought in Russell Wilson.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That coach is not going to be like, hey, I'm not making my job on you, homie. I'll roll with Ripien or I'll draft my own quarterback here in the offseason because you gave me well, they don't have a first-round pick, but I will find somebody. I'm not going to hook mine to you. I already see that dude or is already down the road.
And I mean, to your point, so I don't think we disagree this much on this, right? I'm just not a Russ guy, and you kind of are. But when it comes to
made me one.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't like him. You made me defend this.
But so that team is still so talented.
So talented.
Could they be trying to get the jump on getting somebody like, say, a Sean Payton?
I was going to bring that up. Sean Payton, they say he's building a staff to potentially come back. Now, there's a bunch of stuff hooked in that Saints own his rights, right? So it'd have to be via trade and whatnot like that. But, I mean, if you're Sean Payton and you're looking at their roster talent, I mean, you're drooling over that. Like, okay, yeah, I can go in and work with all these offensive pieces, have all these defensive pieces as well. I mean, maybe not on the line, but your back end is
So good, yeah.
full of good pieces. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, if you're Sean Payton and looking to not go back to the Saints, yeah, you're looking at that roster like, yeah.
Especially because, so the Chargers just made the playoffs, right? They were, as far as I'm concerned, they were his first choice.
Yeah.
Because if they didn't make the playoffs, oh boy, is getting fucking, he's gone.
We
And
should
then-
still have the conversation that maybe he should still be gone.
Yeah.
You know, because
Yep.
the way this season's broken out, there's no reason why they shouldn't be like seriously competing for the AFC West still.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, that was his A1.
Hey, after the
Especially
Cowboys
with that.
lose in the wild card, Mike McCarthy will be gone. Dan Quinn's going to be head coach, and he'll be available.
Fuck.
Mike McCarthy?
Yeah, Mike McCarthy.
There
will
we
be
go.
available.
Bring him over. Bring him over,
Bring him
baby.
over.
I thought you were I could see this going a little weird too. You're gonna get sideways on this, but like get rid of Mike McCarthy. You guys spurn Dan Quinn and you bring in oh boy
Sean Payton.
I could see that too. Yeah,
I could totally see that happening.
and trying to keep Dan Quinn as a coordinator.
Yeah.
You know, on the defensive.
He's
part.
going to be a big one of these. Like, I'm out, man.
I'm
Probably.
out. Yeah. I forgot where my train of thought was on it, but yeah, no, there was a report, and I haven't double checked this. I don't know if it's factual or not. Evidently, they would be targeting Dan Campbell heavily if Detroit misses the playoffs. There is in Dan's, this is where I need to double check, but evidently in Dan Campbell's contract, he is not allowed to jump to any team whatsoever except for one. Can you name that team?
I wonder if that's true.
Yeah. Now, I need to double check that because I seen that going across, and usually is decently reputable, but I've seen some questionable stuff on there too. But evidently, that's the one team that's in his contract that he's allowed to jump ship for.
I would fucking run through a wall for that guy, too.
Yeah.
Like,
You'd have high knees in the fucking.
yeah, whatever. Do
I
it.
just, even if they don't, though, I don't think you get rid of Dan Campbell for the sheer fact that, I mean, I know what the Vikings have done this year, but we talked about their point differential and stuff like being so flip-flopped. I mean, they've just gotten lucky in some of those games.
Not sold.
And not sold on them. Green Bay's going to be down. The Bears are still going to be down. So, and Detroit's done this. I mean, you think you probably are a couple pieces away. You know, you just barely got your first-round receiver back. Or was he second round? I can't remember.
He was first.
First,
Was
yeah.
it? Yeah,
Late
so-
first, but yeah.
So you just barely got a game or two with them. You add another first-round pick on that, you know, in your draft class from this year, and you feel free agency, you feel like you could be contending for that.
Right,
the
start getting
North
some
spot.
defensive pieces.
Right.
Because it feels like they have the offensive weapons.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So,
I mean, I feel like even if they don't, they've made such a jump that, I mean, I think they're an offseason away from being really, really competitive, legitly, in
like,
the North.
to where you're having a legit conversation like, hey, they're a playoff team. They're a
Yeah.
playoff team, is what you.
Yeah.
You know, be like, hey, I think we're finally there.
Right. Not,
you know?
oh, they're sneaking in like they're a playoff team.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Not like you were before Matthew Stafford. Well, you should have been in the playoffs. You're Matthew Stafford, right? So
They're borderline this year, man. Until they got thumped by Carolina, I would not have wanted to play them in the first round this year.
No.
If they kept on that run. But Carolina ran the ball 125 times against them last weekend. So fucking
Chuba went off. Deonta Foreman went off. Like, yeah.
both of them had over 100, I think,
100,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
they've done. I think they just did that a couple weeks ago themselves, which is actually intriguing. That you said I wouldn't want to face Detroit because I didn't want to either. But you might not want to face Carolina, who's also hot, who still has a shot at their division,
They
which
could
we'll
win the
get to a
division,
little
yeah.
bit later, right?
Yeah.
And I do believe they face each other this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay and Panthers.
Yeah. Which Cowboys, as it sits right now, as long as the Eagles don't lose out, and so we will secure the wild card spot, we'll play who you would want to play from that division. It would be the South. So
No fear of Tampa Bay at all.
I just got there.
They just
So they have
don't
just
look right, right?
Don't look right. They've been so inconsistent all year. I don't think you can just trust that team. No.
They can't score till the second half ever. It seems like Tom's always got to bring him back magically.
So I think if I'm sitting there having to play somebody, that's who I'd want to play.
Yeah.
Maybe old Brucey Arians just decided he was going to go up in the booth just until playoff time, then come down and lay the law. Like, Parents are out. Cat is away, the mice will play type of thing. Now Bruce Arians rolls back in.
Right. Giselle said she'll take you back if you win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. What's up?
She'll cut the child support in half.
She probably owes him child support.
Oh, shit.
How much money
She's got the money. Yeah.
She's got the money.
Yeah, true that. Continuing on. Oh, actually, I had one more question with it. And who is your head coach pick that you think they'll go with? Well, just one.
Talking about Denver still, right?
Yep. They get the first, one of the first cracks at it, right? Unless I'm forgetting someone else. Well, obviously Panthers, but he's actually doing all right. He has a case for himself, Wilkes.
Yeah, just run the ball the whole game, and you're going to win some games. Yeah.
Yeah, and the players like him and stuff. Not that it means anything because, look what happened to the guy from the Raiders last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I think Peyton's got the edge, right? He's got to.
If he wants
Unless
it,
Dallas, to your point.
if he's on board, I think obviously there. What Dan Quinn has done, people are gonna be coming after him, big time. But yeah, to your point, that Sean Payton, if he shows any interest, I think
You're paying whatever package to get him.
Yep.
Right?
Which will be interesting what they could scrounge up after all that big trade for Russell. So.
If you can't get him, the one guy that sticks in my mind, and it wouldn't hurt my feelings to get him last year, I'm happy with the coach we have. Great choice.
You go
But
Bieniemy?
D'Amico Ryans.
Oh, that was the
And
other
then
one,
you
yeah.
bring in a respectable offensive coordinator with you, with a vision, not old school where you only stick with one offense type of thing, but bring someone in with you. Russell's not going to bully this type of coach. He's not. I'm not saying Russell bullies because he's like that guy that has a sweet voice and just does what he wants, like that snooty type thing, like what you're talking about. But D'Amico would demand, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And he would keep that defense where it is, having them still play with each other. That's the first person that came to my mind besides Sean Payton. Obviously, Sean Payton would be the slam dunk, but wouldn't that just be because they would have to interview a minority coach? So now we're just playing the game again.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? When you already know who you're actually going for.
Yeah.
It's tough. If he didn't take that, it's probably because he doesn't have faith in Russ, right? Because other than the Chargers and the Cowboys that have potential openings, because the Cowboys they're like, we're tired of losing, we need to get a good coach in here. I don't know who would be next in line after all that would even be on the same level as like a Denver, LA, the Cowboys, that type of thing, right? So
yeah, Sean's going to come somewhere where the quarterback position is settled. He's not going to come in where I've got a young kid I'm trying to teach how play this speed. He's going to come in with somewhere a veteran play caller is there and do his thing.
agreed.
Right. Cardinals, J.J. Watt announces on Twitter that this will be his final NFL season. He did it did on a little bit of a Twitter one with his daughter. My daughter got to see my final home game.
Yeah.
First thoughts?
Good for him. Probably should have done it sooner. I think injuries have really torn him apart.
I think he had some on top of that, didn't he have some serious health stuff? Like something with like a skip beat of his heart going on.
He stepped away for just a little bit. And gosh, man, he's just going to be so torn up.
Yeah. 9.5 sacks yet this year. I don't know if you guys knew that. Not bad for a shitty Cardinals team, right?
Yeah.
Somebody's got to hit the quarterback here.
Right, somebody.
Yeah. He's a big deal on and off the field, man. Off the field, he's done a ton of shit for his communities and that. So it's it's fucking wild. But the shit he would play through too. It didn't matter what kind of injury, he'd still try to get out there, get back there faster than expected every fucking time. Like, yeah, he's definitely a legend in this shit, man.
Only two other NFL players. Maybe there's a third I'm not thinking of. With 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards. Obviously, Aaron Donald. And then the freak Giants, cocaine.
Lawrence Taylor?
Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, pretty damn big deal. I know you'll appreciate it with The Office, but his brother put on Twitter just a gif of Michael Scott with the teary eyes.
It's Aaron Donald and Lawrence Taylor and J.J. Watt.
J.J. Watt, okay.
Are the 3 to win NFL Defensive Player of the Award.
All right, cool. Let's talk about when he was in college and he weighed $150 going into as a freshman to Wisconsin. Or no, it was before Wisconsin because then he went to
he was
Wisconsin.
Central
Western Michigan, something in Michigan. I'm with you on that.
Central Michigan, maybe?
It sounds right. But he went to a different school.
Yeah,
Wisconsin was his dream
on,
school. Yeah, so he
on.
walked on. And he was like, I don't know, $150's light, probably $170, $180. And all of a sudden, by his fucking senior year, he is a monster.
Everybody's doing steroids.
So I'm just saying, I hope he's honest about it. Be like, kids, don't be scared. Do what you got to do to be one of the greatest. Like, I just need him to come out and talk, man. Let's go.
Right. There's a reason why the body also fell apart too, right?
Right.
As well as it carried you up to that. Yeah, absolutely. The Commanders decided to roll with Carson Wentz against the Browns after the benching of Taylor Heineke in last week's game. Wentz went the final 2 series. I do believe led them on either both to touchdowns. Actually looked pretty decent. And Taylor just hasn't been, like, the first half has been there. It's kind of like where you're just talking about flip-flop with the Buccaneers. Just can't put the offense together in the second half. So,
yeah.
What are we thinking? 7-7-1. They own the 7 spot as of right now.
Yeah, you got to go with the guy who produces. And, Heineke, you like his story, the dog in him, and the players want to play for him. But at the end of the day, I mean, you're looking for a playoff spot. You're right there. And so you got to keep winning. So, I mean,
yeah,
if that's who can lead touchdown drives or scoring drives, and I mean, that's who you go with.
Yeah.
Yeah, the problem is he's the one that's been carrying them to win lately. Like, they've been a pretty good team since Wentz went down. It's like, I think it's one of those situations where you put Wentz in and at least you can blame it on, well, we put the guy in that we're paying.
Right.
Right? Because neither one of them are great. Heineke has his flourishes. He'll have a couple games. You're like, hell yeah, but then he'll totally shit the bed. Mm-hmm. Right? That's what a backup quarterback does. And so he probably should be on the bench. But, man, I don't know if Wentz is going to do it. I don't. You have more faith than either one of us do on that, but
he needs. He's on my last bit of it, and I was all right with the benching. So let's. At this table, if I have the most, that's not good. But he does give them the best shot to make noise. To make noise in the playoffs. I still do believe that. I love Taylor's story too. He also was with the Vikings at one point. So I mean, but. He's worked, he's fought, he was on his sister's couch trying to go back to, I think he was going to go back to school or started to go back to school. Got a call, this was like last year before. He just hangs around, kind of like, but they were always, if you actually pay attention to it, if you go back and look, they're always winning almost in spite of his stats. His stats, I don't know if he ever even hit 300 in a game.
Doubt it.
But if Carson Wentz throws for over 300 and 3 touchdowns, they lost the game. You see what I'm saying? Like something clicks with Heineke, with the team wise. Maybe they all raise up. I don't know what's going on. If they could raise up like that for Carson is the more talented quarterback by far, but way more of a head case versus what Taylor is. Taylor's pretty headstrong, so this isn't going to affect him quite like that. He'll be ready if called upon again. So I do believe he's the best shot for them to finish sealing this off now. And then possibly making some noise in the playoffs. Yeah. The defense definitely has to show up regardless. So it's one hell of a top-heavy NFC. So it'd be hard for anyone at the bottom to make their way through that, especially when ultimately you got to meet up with Philly. So
yeah,
if you want to do anything, but
speaking of the Commanders, I wish I would have looked this up before if I knew we were talking about this. But did you hear about the special teams guy that got Pro Bowl selection?
Oh, yeah.
That was the fucking coolest story I've heard in a long time. Like, this dude was on the final, basically, cut list of, like, how many? Like, 4 different teams?
Yeah, 4 or 5 different teams, yep.
And he got to the Commanders and's been on special teams. I think he's got, like, 17 tackles on special teams this year. Jeez. Like, been crazy good. And everybody on the team was jacked up when the coach told him that he was fucking going to the Pro Bowl. Super emotional deal, but super cool, like watching somebody work that hard.
Yeah, right.
Just by, the thinnest of margins, being able to make it, and he got there. I'll have to look that up and we'll add it to the podcast, but yeah.
He may have to,
cool.
yeah. He could end up just staying on there. I mean, Matthew Slater made a career of it with New England, if you know who that is. He's a special teamer all the way.
Every time he was the guy.
And and he's just the guy, and he'd also make the Pro Bowl off of it every year too. Just that hustle guy that takes care of business. Yeah. Speaking of Washington, actually, I don't think we ever did talk about this. I was so jacked for this, right? Because I'm a huge Sean Taylor guy. Always love his game. Just if you love football, type that in YouTube. Sean Taylor highlights. Just amazing, right? They're gonna they made it sound like a statue.
Oh yeah,
up
that
of
horrible thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
they didn't even tape his mask or nothing.
No.
I see they did fix it though.
Did they?
Yeah.
Okay.
They taped his face mask.
Okay. But that's it. So we still have just the empty jersey with the metal frame.
Yeah, I don't think they did anything
They
else.
do anything with that?
At least they did that because that was one of the things he did that made him stand out, right? So
Yeah.
at least they did that. Like,
Right. I'm like,
yeah, I did see that.
how do you miss on that though?
Right. It was like a bunch of hangers put together.
The one thing that Commanders will still go get in a fist fight over is someone stomping on his number on the, you know what I mean? Like, how can you miss on that so badly?
Yeah.
Because you got him hyped. You even got the people like myself that was like, hell yeah, let's see this. I'm down. And then you see that getting unveiled. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Might as well have done that. There's a hanger holding that jersey right there.
Everything they do is terrible. Everything. They went from the Redskins to the Commanders because Redskins was offensive. Meanwhile, Commanders were literally the people killing Indians back in the day, right? So they went from one to, okay, now we'll just be the team that destroyed all of the fucking Native Americans in the country, right? And then we'll put up a shitty statue. They're god-awful from top down, man. Everything
Just
they do is
don't take
stupid.
anything out, right?
God.
Yeah. I didn't think we had talked about it. I was just so embarrassing. It's like when you're watching something, it's like
Yeah.
and you feel ashamed for the person, like when you're watching an uncomfortable movie, part in a movie, you've seen it before, you know it is. I'm like, oh my God, just stop. You're like, you can't make eye contact. But I look at this thing, I'm like, what the fuck, man? How can you miss on this?
It was so bad.
It was horrible. They could have grabbed a mannequin from goddamn Yonkers and made it look better than that,
Yeah.
And then the big news of the day, gentlemen. Raiders bench quarterback Derek Carr and will start Jarrett Stidham versus the 49ers with undrafted rookie free agent Chase Garbers as the backup. This is looking heavily like a financial move / moving on. So if they cut him by the third day before the Super Bowl, the cap hit on him will only be $5.625 million. If he gets injured, his injury guaranteed is $40.4 million. So obviously to me it looks pretty that they're ready to move on from him / we would play you, but it could cost us a lot of money when we could just get away with minimal. Thoughts on this?
You can't blame them for that, right? It's really not any different than the reason the Niners still had Jimmy G for a while, because if he got hurt, they would have owed him all that money. So they kept him not practicing with the team, just doing bullshit so he didn't get hurt. Then ultimately, luckily, he was with the team after the injury. You can't blame him, I guess, for that. They're not doing anything this year, so.
Still technically, mathematically alive.
Yeah. I mean, right now, if you look at it, they're sitting at 8 in the 8 spot. Pick up a quarterback, which isn't great.
You guys,
But I mean, Houston's gonna go one. Chicago, you think, has one. This is where I think it gets weird. Does Seattle trust Geno? Yes or no? The Cardinals have their own. The Colts, they're going to be looking for a quarterback potentially. I mean, so there's potentially 3 teams. Detroit Lions, they're going to be doing the same thing.
They supposedly have full trust in God.
And God,
I
right?
don't know
But
if
you
you saw
can't
the same
ever,
thing. I know.
right? You can't ever trust.
Depends
it.
on who's there. Like
Exactly. So, I mean, and then Atlanta Falcons, are they set on Ritter and who's there? So, I mean, you've got a lot of teams that's sitting above you if you're the Raiders that are could potentially go for a quarterback, and obviously the top 3. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of surprising they're going that way. I mean, obviously they're kind of like the Broncos. Things just haven't worked out for them this year.
A lot of one-score or field goal losses this year too. You know, I remember seeing like a stat on it. I think it was like wasn't like 7 games of it like that, touchdown or less.
But in their case, a lot of those they've had to come back to get that close, and they just didn't pull it out and win it. It wasn't like a truly close game.
Well,
they had a lot of blowouts where they had to come back.
They actually had 3 games where they were up 3 touchdowns. One of them was the Chiefs, the beginning part of the season, or the Chargers. It was the Chargers.
Lost to the Chargers 24-19. Lost to the Cardinals 29-23. Lost to the Titans 24-22. Lost to the Chiefs 30-29.
That's the one they were up by. I'm pretty sure that was like that was 29 to.
I mean, they do have some rough losses. I mean, obviously the Steelers by 3. Lost to the Rams by 1. Lost to the Colts by 5. Lost to the Jags by 7. Blown out by the Saints. You know, and then the 1 to the Chiefs, the 2 to the Titans, the 6 to the Cardinals, the 5 to the Chargers. So, yeah, I mean, relatively close losses, but I don't know. I thought it was weird. Just, and, you know, maybe it's a thing where they're looking at McDaniels and going, you know, here are the keys. What do you want to do? You know, obviously he's not his guy.
Yeah. I'm going, so I agree with everything you guys said. I really do. I'm thinking purely heart and passion here. How in the fuck could you do that to Derek Carr?
Yeah,
He's done literally nothing but bend over backwards for you. He's literally broken his back for you. You know, he's went through your horrible offensive line like when you had one of the best offensive lines, second behind the Cowboys, when the Cowboys had the top tier, Raiders were right there with the offensive line. You guys remember that? Mm-hmm. And then they dissected it.
Yep.
And then they dissected it again when they kind of rebuilt it back up. Remember, we were making fun of them trading away. Like, what are you doing? In fact, I think it was before this year, right? They started trading away all like their top tier, like their guards, and like, who's going to protect this man? You know,
Right.
He's always been there to try to do that, and he always talks good of the Raiders, no matter how much the team has failed around him too. When he overexceeded, right? But the team wasn't around him to help build up, and then he also always helped you out financially. He may have been a top-paid quarterback at one point. I think he was the last contract when he first signed it, but the guaranteed money wasn't there. He gave them flexibility regularly. Something Kirk Cousins doesn't even do. You know what I'm saying? Like, so how could you do Mr. Raider, new age, we'll say new age, Mr. Raider, that dirty? And it isn't like he's a horrible quarterback. It isn't like he's fallen off, right? That's what my belief is. I'm like,
Yeah.
like, you've had a rough go this year. You've missed on a few like that. He has his own personal high in interceptions this year with 14, but God, 14 used to not even be that bad, gentlemen. I used to remember stats of 28 and 14 on a regular year-end basis. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and that was a great quarterback, actually. 28 touchdowns versus 14. You know, that'd be almost like a Brett Favre stat. You know.
You know, and then, you know, another thing coming across is Tom Brady potentially going there and joining an old boy again. So that's something that I seen come across, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. I think there's going to be a lot of, you know, we talked about this last year, how quarterbacks kind of on the move, and I think we're going to get the same thing again. Like a Derek Carr, Tom Brady, that coming across. Zach Wilson, he's going to get a shot somewhere else. You know, what happens with Geno? He's played out. Is Seattle going to trust him to give him, you know, money, or is somebody else going to swoop in and like it? You know, that's sitting out of that top 10 range that one's a quarterback and can't move up. I think there's going to be, and then obviously then with the draft as well, I think there's going to be a lot of moving and going around with quarterbacks again this year.
I'm with you. I think that is. I think we're set up for another crazy.
Damn it. I didn't think about the Vegas thing. Remember, we talked about this. Like, Tom Brady and Gronk were both basically in Vegas, right? Dana White helped that shit happen. They were basically on the Raiders.
Yeah.
But then who squashed that? Something happened where it was all of a sudden like, nope, not going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they were going to be there, and now McDaniels is there.
Yep. That's why.
Damn, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
I come across that Tom's out. He doesn't have Giselle potentially holding him back down anymore.
Yeah, why not go? Why not go to Sin City?
Right, exactly.
Hookers and blow, baby.
Damn. Yep. Wow.
I think we're gonna see a lot of quarterbacks on the moving around. You know, the Jets are just a horrible franchise, so I don't think you can completely put what's happened there on him. I mean, he's made a bunch of bad decisions, and stuff like that. He's got some playmakers.
He's pretty bad. Like, I was full bore on board. Like, I liked him. You guys remember that? And so I'm not like saying that I never did. I've watched him, and he is downright horrible, gentlemen. He had one freak play that got him within field goal range, but it was
the guy jumped up. It was balls behind him. He jumped up, jumped out of the gym to
grab it, and then they end up missing the field goal anyway. But regardless, watch this kid play. And
somebody's going to give him a shot, though.
He's too young. He's too young not to, and he still has arm talent.
Right, exactly. Somebody like kind of where Atlanta fell, right? Atlanta didn't grab Ritter to like the third. Ended up with Marcus Mariota, and I was like, that is horrible. It's going to be something like that, I think.
Actually, you brought up another name, and Mike Wilson needs to go up and shake that man's hand at the end of the season, and that's Mr. Geno Smith. Be like, hey, you showed that even after 7 years of the bench, that you can still. So it's always going to give me a hope to.
Right.
A quick hitter on that one. I do want to say, if I were the Seahawks, I wouldn't do like a franchise moving contract, but what I would do is like a 3-year.
Yeah.
Because no matter what you bring in, you can still draft a quarterback. Be like, Gino, here's the deal. We're going to give you 3 years. You can even give him top tier-ish money if you want. It doesn't matter because isn't like they're spending too much anyways.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? They basically cleared house the last couple of years. So they have salary cap space. We'll give you 3 years. It'll also give you time to either build your own resume even more or even prove to us, and you're still going to get paid. You're comfortable in this situation. You don't need to keep hopping teams, right? And still get your guy. That's what I would do if I were the Seahawks. Try to sell him on staying there for a few years and give you times instead of rushing these quarterbacks into the seats right out of the gate.
Some of it depends on Pete, right? Because I thought at the beginning of the year he basically said this was his last year, right?
Well, if that's the case,
because he's old as shit. He doesn't look like it, but he's old as shit.
He is, and they've kind of played. They have played outside of their.
Oh yeah.
Where we thought they would be, right? Especially Geno is the catalyst to that, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Could make a case that Sean Payton can go up there and own that team too, though.
He wants a winner. He's going to go somewhere
he gets to handpick his quarterback, though, too.
He does. He's not going to do that. He's going to go somewhere where he's got a solid quarterback.
Proven
A proven quarterback. He's not going to go anywhere. He's got to. I got to pick and build some up and break one in and go through the rookie mistakes and take 2 years to.
Yeah, especially.
He's going to go.
Otherwise, he would have stayed with the Saints.
Might as well, yeah.
Right.
100%.
Where he owned the city, he could have done anything he wanted. Yeah. Okay. Yep. You got me sold on that.
Another one, Daniel Jones. Are the Giants really sold on Daniel Jones? He could be on the move too. That's another quarterback. True. I think we're gonna see another offseason of quarterback. Carousel basically.
I think they need to get him. I don't know. That one's a tough one. Daniel Jones. Think about.
I've started to like Daniel Jones.
Some days he plays lights out, but then some days he plays like Zach Wilson. I'm like, what are you doing, guy?
True, but I don't think he has near the weapons. He should have. He should have. But it makes me wonder, would you take off? Because he's actually a borderline special runner. Like when he takes off and goes, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Right? And he has some drive in him. He has a little bit of that quiet fiery, like when he does make a big play and stuff, I'm curious if they did get him weapons, if it'd take him to the next level. A legit receiver that isn't a crybaby or doesn't want to practice, and Kenny Galladay, and then Kadarius Toney, who was injured 99% of his tenure there, and old boy that definitely is
Sterling.
Sterling.
Yep.
The one piece that is always good when he's out there for 5 minutes. Can he be that guy if he had the talent? Do you roll the dice thinking, hey, let's get him some more let's get him talent around him and see what happens? Look what we were able to do this year, and he still didn't have too much
that's
to
the
throw
thing.
to.
I mean, they didn't pick up his 5th-year option, so Daniel Jones go, well, screw you, I'm out. Disrespected. I'll go to Carolina. I'll go somewhere else that wants a quarterback, that needs a quarterback. Obviously the Jets, they have playmakers.
Jets are always in.
I think they have playmakers all over the
They
offense.
do.
I do.
Their offense is really good.
I think they have pieces all over.
It's finding the guy, and so just another quarterback. I think be potentially on the move.
That should be a spot that anyone like Derek Carr should be salivating over a shot with the Jets.
The thing that makes me sad is Rio and I talked about this earlier, and it makes total sense. He's going to end up in Indy because he is at the exact same spot in his career as all the other guys.
How old is he? He can only be like 30.
No, dude. I bet he's closer to us.
He was 21 when he came out.
I'm not 30 yet, so it could be.
When I say us, I'm not looking at you, babyface.
I didn't realize
damn
he was 9 years with the Raiders.
Right, so I think he's only 30. Because he came out when he was, I'm typing it in right now just to be sure,
Okay.
but 31. You still have a solid 5 year. You can get a 5-year contract, and that's still great play right there in quarterback play.
I don't know.
You're
All
probably
right.
looking at a 3-year deal wherever he goes.
Wherever he would, I just mean like he has five.
But-
He has 5 damn good years left without even thinking about the downhill.
Yeah.
Maybe
That's-
he
I don't know.
depends on if this year is a reflection of what's going to happen or a foreshadowing of what's going to happen, right? Like, because this has not been a good year for him.
You know what? He can come up to Minnesota.
He can be a backup for sure. Yeah,
Well, behind the league MVP.
that's right, 100%. Well,
But-
one of the 2 potential
One of the
league
two.
MVPs.
Yeah, well, here's the thing too. I mean, thinking about more quarterbacks moving, is the Packers. You know, I know they had that crazy comeback, but they missed the playoffs and suck. And Rodgers is frustrated, and he says, "Fuck it, I'm done." Like,
Yeah.
there's another team that's looking for a quarterback potentially because I think they pissed off Jordan Love that he's out too. That's another guy
Right,
potentially
because
on the move.
I didn't realize how long that has been now. That is 4 years with them.
4, yeah.
4 years of love. So you drafted him. You drafted your future quarterback way too early.
Oh yeah,
Way too. You were definitely a season too early for sure.
Yeah.
Even if you had the 3 year with
Well,
him, you know.
whatever about that. It was not getting your quarterback help after he was like, "Hey, I need some help," and not going to get
Right.
it.
It
You
was-
get
it
a
was the-
quarterback instead.
So basically, it was the worst move you possibly could have made
Yeah.
for the intermediate, for the moment, and for the future because. And you haven't seen enough of Jordan Love to feel comfortable handing over the keys, like
know.
as in financially, because you'd have
Right.
to give him that. I could see it too.
They
There's
should have. Rodgers keeps talking shit about his receivers.
Oh my god,
They need to just bench his ass and see what Love can do right now.
yeah.
Because Rodgers is done after this year.
Well,
I
I
really
think they're
think
still
so.
in the hunt. So I mean,
Yeah.
you can't do that.
You say that, but who do we just talk about? That's still technically in the hunt.
The Raiders, but
Right.
it's this
Yeah,
one's a little
I
bit.
think, I
It
think
is
it's-
different. You're
This
right.
is different.
I think
They
it's a
just
little
re-signed
different.
him $50 million a year. Yeah, I get that. But goddamn, he keeps. That doesn't take away from what I'm saying. He keeps throwing goddamn Watson under the bus every time. If you want to score touchdowns, run the right route or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
He did say it jokingly though, like with
I
his
don't
smirk.
know,
With his
yeah.
smirk, I watched the video.
yeah,
Sometimes that's what you got to do. You kind of at least he was throwing him up. What I mean by that is he was throwing him under the bus way harder with no emotion earlier on in
Early
the
in the
season.
Yeah.
Now it seems like it's a little pet joke going on, like maybe kind of light a fire under. I think he knows Christian Watson is a special receiver, or the young budding star of one that's going to become. I mean, look what he did for how many games there was. That 4 games and he double-digit touchdowns throughout the.
yeah.
Well, not double-digit,
Yeah,
but
he
you know what
had
I'm saying.
8 in 4 games. Yeah,
Yeah.
2 a game. Yep.
Just ridiculous, but it's gonna be a crazy quarterback carousel once again.
Derek
And-
Carr's going to Indy.
And I can't
Fucking-
wait.
it's
Are
coming.
you calling that?
Fucking hate Rio for putting that in my head, but I really think it's gonna happen now. Yeah, it makes sense. He might not be old enough, but I feel like he's at the same spot in his career as these other guys, as Wentz, as fucking Matt Ryan when he went there. He's
Wentz,
just
may,
not
Wentz
good,
maybe,
man.
yeah. Ryan
Doesn't look the
at
same.
the back end because Ryan's gonna go somewhere too. You're gonna have a lot of because Ryan still has something in the tank too.
I don't know.
The last bit, I don't know. I honestly think they crushed him this year when they sat him.
He's
'Cause
bad
if you
before
go
that,
if you go
man.
back and look at his stats, he wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
He wasn't their defense wasn't really clicking. Their offensive line wasn't protecting him. He was getting sacked heavily. I'm not saying it isn't not his fault. That isn't what I'm saying at all. I mean, when you lose that many, it's everybody's fault, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think a big thing, which is one of our key concerns coming into the year, is you have nobody to throw to, or not many. You have one, and the rest of them are kind of like, okay. And I think that's showed up.
Right.
Gotta start using the tight
not-
ends. Don't they have 2 tight ends that are like 7'8" fucking monster tight ends over there in Indy?
Alec
They at least
Cox,
have
and
one.
They have another. I can't remember his name.
He's bigger
I-
than Cox, though, isn't he?
Yeah, he. I thought he was like he's a younger guy, but he's actually been in the league a couple years, I believe.
Yeah, I think he's like 6'8" or something.
So,
He is
but
a
yeah.
monster. Yeah. I don't know. He's if I remember correctly, he hasn't really been traditionally great at throwing to tight ends anyway. He loves his receivers, and especially one specifically. But you always need a number 2 to take the pressure off
Yeah.
the one anyway. No matter how much you're throwing to this one, they got to know that this dude can actually ball out. So like we have to respect this guy on the other side, and they didn't have that.
Yeah.
The one guy that could have kind of done that had he been healthy and you started the season, you actually signed him, re-signed him. T.Y. Hilton is that type of guy that you could have stuck on the other side. But you still have to respect T.Y.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
So, but there was a lot of missed ball dropping here, and he's going to be on the move. I could see Derek Carr going there too. Yeah. And then on to Mr. Luka Doncic, gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
Had himself a historic 60, 21, and 10 triple dub to rally the Mavs in overtime over the Knicks. Couple little crash courses for you here. He evidently missed a free throw on purpose.
Yeah.
At the end of
did
regulation.
You see it? Yeah.
Went up and flung it in to tie the game. Then he starts doing a dance, going crazy. And then he realized all it did was tie the game. He thought they won the game off of it. So that's the reason why he said, I didn't know what to do. Well, you just made one of the only stat lines in NBA history. I don't know if you know that.
Nobody's done that.
Nobody has done that. The highest, there's only been one player that has done it with a 60 point, or maybe it was two of them. I think it was two of them that have done it with a 60-pointer, triple dub, but still not that high in the rebounds, the numbers. And then two players, Wilt Chamberlain and I don't know if it's Bob Cousy, someone else that had 50-point games with 20-plus rebounds. And then the 10 assists. But
he's the MVP. It's not even close right now, dude.
Yeah,
right?
He is balling out.
Yeah. He's been so good.
Yeah. I don't even have I don't have a counter for it. And he's the face of it.
And he's a baby still. That's what's wild. He's still young as fuck.
He is. I think he's starting to grow up a little bit this season versus last. Remember, Jason Kidd's pivotal in that because he calls out his own superstar. Like, you need to stop.
Yeah.
You need to stop doing it because they're not going to listen to you. You're the boy that cried wolf every time you're doing this and you're freaking out. And he's done a lot better of that this year, you know?
Yep. He didn't come into the season out of shape. He came ready to play. Like, he's been so fucking good. Every time I watch him play, it's like nobody, and he looks so slow. That's what's funny when you watch him.
Yeah.
He does not look fast. You're like, how are you not stopping that? But every time he scores or does what he wants, it's wild, man.
Yeah, I just wish we had kept Jalen Brunson. I think that was a nice piece.
Yeah, nice too.
I see they got hit with a tampering violation.
They did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
On
You
him.
knew there was something with it
Oh,
anyway.
yeah.
Like, we heard it way before.
Yep.
The tampering period even started. That
Right.
it was basically
Like,
a done deal, right?
Right.
Like, hold on.
Yeah.
Are we making an assumption? Sounds like you're assuming he's going to go there. You're not supposed to know this yet.
Oh yeah, no, that's what we said, right?
Right. Yeah, hands down, league MVP right now. I don't even know who the two is. I don't even know if the two even matters at this point. He'd have to miss the rest of the season for anyone else to be pulled back up into it.
The two's probably old boy from Denver again because he's got the
Jokic.
stats. Yeah.
But they're going to stiff him anyway because now we're getting to that LeBron James, Michael Jordan, as in, boredom. They're tired. Yeah, tired of seeing 30s, 30-point averages, tired of seeing 25, 8, and 8, right? That you haven't really impressed us. But the person we're going to give it to only put up 25, 4, and 4.
Yeah.
And I think Jokic is going to get some of that anyway. That being said, it's deserving. It isn't like Luka deserves to get it. It isn't like you just did it in spite of because you're tired of seeing him do it. But
totally agree.
both of them have been doing historic stuff too, though. I mean, they like.
Yeah, I think we're gonna need to see Jokic take the team deep. In the playoffs.
Yeah.
So and he hasn't yet.
They have. I can't. His name's escaping
Jamal?
me. They have him. Yeah, they have him
Jamal.
back this year. That could be a big difference too. So.
Yep.
Well, it seems like every time he goes to battle in his playoff time, he's either missing him or he may start the playoffs and then he ends up getting hurt before.
Yeah.
So it'll be intriguing to see. And the Finns, Tua Tagovailoa, is day-to-day while being in the concussion protocol for only the second time this NFL season. Looks like Teddy B is in line to start. First off, I'm going to laugh right now because it is stated second because
time.
of the one.
Fuck.
First off, should maybe he think about maybe just sitting when you got 3. Yeah, I know 2, blah blah blah, but
yeah,
maybe it's time to you just take the back seat. But let's say he doesn't. Regardless, can Teddy B keep them afloat? They're right on the. I can't remember where they are in the seating, but they're not. They started losing. I think they've lost like 4 straight games now.
I don't think they're going to make it.
You don't think they'll make it?
No. They've got a tough schedule left. And they were already not playing great this last stretch of the year. I don't think Teddy's going to do
So
much.
Dolphins are at 7 right now.
So just in.
Yeah.
Who's right behind them?
Miami is at
Wasn't
the
it the
7 with
Raiders?
8 wins. The Patriots are right behind them with 7. The
And
Jets at 7. Tennessee at 7.
Miami faces New England this weekend, I do believe. So
In
Kinda
New
pivotal.
England.
Yeah.
is it in New England
Yeah.
too?
Yep. They already played Miami.
So you don't think they're making it? You think they're going to give up that spot?
Yeah. They haven't looked good in a while, man. They haven't looked like the beginning of the season. We're like, shit, this is going to be a team. And for whatever reason. Here's the deal, though, about his concussion. You know when that happened, right? It was the second quarter of that game when he got yanked back and his head fucking bounced off the turf.
Yep.
So he had an amazing, and I didn't realize this until later, but he had an amazing first half. He was looking so good.
So good.
Second half, dog shit. Just all of a sudden, nothing happened. And I was like, what? That's fucking weird. Like, what the hell? And then I realized he got yanked back and his head bounced off the fucking ground in the second quarter. So obviously it affected him going in. And nobody called anything. Nobody looked at a replay and said, fucking, oh, he's probably got brain damage. Like, he's getting the shaft with concussion stuff this year, dude.
The NFLPA is going to have a heyday this offseason, right?
Yeah.
They are missing horribly. And how are you not paying attention to Tua of all people? Because if you barely touch him, because he's not a big guy, he flies.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's why his other two concussions happened. He got flung and slammed, right? He's not a very big guy. So when he gets touched and he gets hit, it seems like his head bounces off the ground more than any quarterback I can recall in recent memory.
Yeah, this one was he like got chased from behind. They kind of pulled him back, and so he went backwards. And his helmet, clearly, it's like boom, boom, and fucking
Yeah, nobody checked him.
not at all.
What are you thinking, Rio?
Yeah, I mean, obviously not a. You would almost think they'd be watching guys who, especially after how bad it was, and on live TV, they'd be watching him extra close to see him. And same thing with Danny. I watched the first half. I'm like, oh, okay, and then second half, I'm like, well, holy shit. I mean, yeah, they could definitely not get there. I don't know. I'm gonna say they do. I'm gonna say they got enough weapons that they can get there, but not make any noise.
Okay.
I just don't believe in leaving the Patriots, and there's a lot of stuff going on between Mac Jones and the offensive play caller, and there's a lot of stuff going on there. Miami's at least have all their weapons and stuff like that. At least,
Talent will beat it out,
yeah,
basically.
yeah, can at least beat it out potentially. So, but not make any noise.
Speaking of which, before we move on, you did see this big deal with Mac Jones, right? The quote-unquote dirty play again.
Yeah.
Where he's trying to chase out there. He's not going to be anywhere near it.
Right.
So what's he do? He flops down right in front of a defender. The defender had there's no way he was going to catch that he was going to catch the dude ahead. Because his excuse was, I don't know if you guys caught that, is I was stopping him because he was a really fast player and he could have got up there and blocked the guy to give him give his guy a free shot. Because there was one more guy in pursuit right there. Like, no, he was gone by a mile.
Right.
Dirty play. I'm
getting Grayson Allen vibes.
We're getting a little Grayson Allen here. Right. And then we'll roll into Randy Gregory and Ode Obechi. We kind of touched on it a little bit with fighting. Gets their suspensions overturned. Gregory instead is fined $50,000 and Ibushi $12,000. Punches were thrown. I don't know if you guys saw this. This is at the end of the game. Evidently, it was going on kind of in the game, back and forth, and then
Really glad that they stole him from us, because we're getting better production off a guy on way less than $70 million,
and less of a head case. Evidently, I mean, I don't know if you guys must have cut the cocaine out on that.
Yeah, right. He's like,
Must
and
have.
how many bricks do I get?
That's one. That's one we still have to remember. We do have to give. We don't give very much love to Vaughn Schumacher, right? We got to give him a little bit on this one. Remember that, because his brother was a strength and conditioning coach at Nebraska at the time.
Yep.
And he told us, he said that I think it was who's the running back? Damn it, He's with the Raiders. He was with Minnesota, and he was with Detroit before that.
Amir Abdullah.
Amir Abdullah. He said Amir Abdullah's as nice as you can possibly think of. He's as pictured. He's like, Randy Gregory, though? No. And this is before the NFL draft happened, Danny. He's like, telling you, my brother said this is no bueno, whoever gets this guy. He has a little bit of an extracurricular. And it came out like that, too. I'm like, snap.
Gotta be honest.
But, gentlemen, that is what I got. I do have a strange law for you.
I have to give you something first before you do strange law.
Okay.
Here's what my bold prediction is going to be about this playoff situation with Miami.
Ooh, okay.
Pittsburgh is going to make the playoffs again.
Yikes.
They play Baltimore and Cleveland the last 2 games of the year. Baltimore's already sealed in. They're in the playoffs. They're not going to get better or worse. They're in. Jackson's out, right?
Yep.
They're going to win.
And they're
going to beat the Browns. The Browns have not been good.
No. And Kenny Pickett has been playing a lot better, too.
And Miami has to play New England and the Jets, and the Jets are still fighting for something.
Right.
Yeah,
and
if they have to win out, though, the Browns are going to play up for that game, knowing that they can knock a division opponent, keep them out.
They're going to play up, but they're not good.
They are.
I agree with you.
They're not good, but knowing, 1, a division game, and then 2, knowing that if they beat you, they go to the playoffs.
The only reason I'm even saying this is because what Mike Tomlin does every fucking year. It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Yep.
But I saw that they're still in the hunt, and I did not even realize that. I thought they should be out by now, but fuck. They're going to make it.
Yep.
True playoff implications. Little tidbit for you gentlemen, which I forgot I was going to bring up to you, was I don't know if you guys know this, but Tyler Huntley obviously has been the one they've been rolling with the last, 4 games now?
I think 4.
I think 4.
Yeah.
I don't think he's thrown a touchdown pass yet.
Got Pro Bowl votes.
Yep. He is the 4th alternative.
Yeah, I saw that.
They may
That
have
I
a
didn't
legit
see.
possibility in the first time in NFL history of having 2 quarterbacks on the active Pro Bowl roster on the same team. And Huntley has not been good.
The Pro Bowl doesn't mean shit.
It doesn't mean, but it means a little something for like when your prestige, you know what I mean, with your
Yeah.
resume, right? And then Tyler Huntley has one, like,
Yeah.
I just told this good story about the Washington guy that made the fucking Pro Bowl, and then you tell me this shit. That hurts. Dang it.
yeah. But my weird law for you gentlemen, straight out of Utah. I don't think I told you this one. It's been a little bit, but did I mention anything about a husband and a wife?
I don't know about Utah, but you've definitely talked about husband
in
and wives.
Utah. The husband is responsible for every crime act committed by his wife while she is in his presence.
Oh.
Is it vice versa?
I don't think so. It doesn't state it.
So if she like straight murks somebody, he gets charged with murder?
Yeah. If he is present.
Yeah, but you'd think you'd know if she was going to do something like that.
Well, maybe.
You'd think. I don't know.
I don't know. My wife's love you to death, baby. But she's flown off like out of nowhere. Like I didn't see that coming a mile away.
Elaborate.
No, I'm good. Love you. Didn't really see it. They had it coming. The whole works.
I didn't know that happened. I can't even picture that.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, yep, that's what I had for that. Rio, you wanted to talk.
Yeah, let us talk about our picks for the college football playoff semifinals. This Saturday, number 1 Georgia versus 4 Ohio State, 2 Michigan versus 3 TCU.
I thought you were talking Iowa versus Kentucky.
The important game.
I think that's Saturday.
Hey, Texas and Washington play tomorrow.
There we go. That'd be way more entertaining than the Iowa-Kentucky game.
No
yeah,
shit.
that's true.
Go ahead.
So rolling off with the first game. Well, technically the first game is at 4 p.m. That's the Michigan versus TCU. Who do you got?
So on this one, really, really, really close to changing my opinion on this one. And Tyler almost got me. That's why. I do believe, unless it's changed, TCU is a 12.5-point underdog. I don't know if you guys saw that. Maybe it was 7.5. Maybe it's 7.5. 7.5. 12.5 was a different game. I can't do it. I think there's something a little different with Michigan for whatever reason than there was last year. They lost talent to the draft, and they lost players here and there, but just something feels even more definitive this year.
So in that game against Ohio State, didn't that running back get knocked out for the season? The one that was going to be in the Heisman conversation.
He did, but the other running back went bonkers.
He's still really good too. Yeah,
he went bonkers in that too. If I remember correctly.
7.5.
Okay.
Over under 58.5.
I'm going Michigan. It's going to go over. I think it'll be a shootout.
Maybe like a fucking
not
40,
not
38.
in the sense of a shootout that you're used to. I'm not saying there's going to be 400 yards from Michigan. It's going to be you can't stop them running the ball, right?
Yeah.
No matter who's back there, they have a plethora of 4 or 5-star running backs back there, and they play like it too. They're not just, you know what I'm saying. But TCU has been nothing but competitive, high flying. They've faced. I got to give them love because they faced top tier all year, and they beat every single one of those ranked opponents on the way doing it, right? And not to mention Durgan or whatever, what is that his name? I do believe he's an Iowa boy. Am I wrong there? I think he came from Iowa. Was in the Heisman, was up there for the Heisman Trophy. Semi-finalist. So I'm still going to roll Michigan. Just a little too much experience, too much coaching experience in this one too. Been there. So I think they finished and they stamped theirs going Natty Championship.
Yeah, I've got 2 points to make. One, they beat the piss out of an Ohio State team that has way more talent than TCU in Ohio State. I know there's rivalry there, so there's that. But then second of all, they want to get back and play.
I am so goddamn glad you brought this up.
That's fine. That's why I brought it up.
Me too.
They want to get back to get revenge in Georgia. They think they missed out on something last year when Georgia beat them up. They want to come back and play Georgia in the championship. They're going to beat TCU for sure.
Yeah. Sounds like that Ohio State game that they beat up is the exact opposite of what you called.
Yeah.
It flipped.
Way the opposite.
I
think, you know what? When we were talking about this, I think I mixed up the teams, Rio. So I think that's what happened.
We would say
No,
warm,
man,
but it's been
not-
Sub-Zero.
They have so much goddamn talent. That game doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I don't understand it, but it happened. So
TCU, right? Seen more of their games.
Easy to do it.
But I think Michigan's too much for them. I think they're going to go ball control. They're going to run all over them. TCU, and we've seen what Michigan did to Ohio State. They kind of run and pass a lot, and TCU is going to do the same thing. But we've seen what they did to Ohio State, so I think the same thing is going to happen. I think they slow this game down and run all over them. It might get a little closer. TCU may score a couple late just to bring it closer, but I don't think it's going to be much. I think it's going to be all Michigan all the way.
I'm with you. I really thought you were going to go TCU because he's a Longhorn fan, but he's also a TCU guy. In fact, the one college game he did see down there in Texas was TCU, correct?
Yeah.
So I thought you were actually going to pull the trigger on it, but
no, I just
something feels a little different about Michigan this year. For whatever reason, they lost 2 stud edge rushers, right?
Yep.
One's balling out up in Detroit. The other one is still on the mend.
Mm-hmm.
You lost weapons all over the place, right?
Yeah.
And they look even more fierce, actually. Their defense is even tougher.
The coach was almost gone.
Yeah,
and
coach was
everybody
almost
knew it.
gone.
Weirdly,
Like,
Right.
He basically was telling everybody his goodbyes,
he's
right?
like, I'm looking good in purple. I'm like, let's go.
Yeah.
doing that Spider-Man thing, walking into the Vikings.
Okay, so kind of all agreeing there. And the next game, number 1 Georgia versus 4 Ohio State. Who do you got, Danny? Georgia.
Yeah, the Michigan gave the blueprint to Georgia on how to beat the shit out of Ohio State. I think Georgia beats them. I think they beat them pretty good too.
Okay.
I am rolling the exact opposite. I think Ohio State got the second wind. They got something that it very rarely happens, and when it does happen, it happens for Alabama. C.J. Stroud is still something special, and I understand what Michigan did. I do get that, and I was dumbfounded, especially how they did it. I remember we were at the birthday party. And I'm like, I can't believe this is going on right now, and it wasn't even close.
Yep.
Right. I think you're going to catch a second wind. Ryan Day, to a certain extent, even though he keeps bringing in more and more 4 or 5 stars and all that, and his recruiting is doing just fine, feels like he's almost defending his job to a certain point because he hasn't been able to beat Michigan since he's been there, right? If he did, it was the very first season. He hasn't the last 2 seasons, obviously.
Right.
And just hasn't quite made that right there. I think this is it right here because I'm going to go ahead and flip exactly what I just said about Michigan getting stronger than what they were last year, even though they lost all that talent. Georgia has not been as special as they were last year. Nowhere near that, especially on the defensive side. They have been vulnerable. Remember last year, you could not score against them. You definitely couldn't rush a touchdown against them. Didn't they go like all season without giving up a rushing touchdown? Yeah. This is not the same team. I understand Stetson took a step up. I mean, you should after 17 seasons.
17-ish, yeah.
You know, in college football, but I just don't feel the same kind of way as how special they were last year.
Yeah.
I think if I'm not going to give my thing, but my little inkling already is if Georgia and Michigan go, Michigan actually demolishes Georgia this time. If it ends up that way, because I think it's flipped that much. But in this one, I'm giving it to Ohio State.
So we have Ohio State pick. All right, and I'm gonna go with Georgia. I think they've had some ugly games this year, but they still win them. I think that's what you got to prove is when everything's not going your way, you can still pull out the game. And I think they've done that a couple times this year. I do think that Ohio State gives them a scare. I think it's going late. It's within 10. I mean, Georgia maybe has to score late to get the lead and keep it. But Ohio State is going to definitely scare them, keep themselves in the game the whole time. And but Georgia, I think, will pull this one out. Experience on the team.
Yeah, a big part of it is, Ohio State hadn't been tested until Michigan, and they got just dumped on.
And I think this is just
Georgia
kind of
has
what it's going to be.
Yeah.
They've proven they can win and beat the shit out of teams. They've proven that when it gets ugly, they can win it ugly if they have to. So I think they're ready for whatever comes their way. I do think it's going to be close, though.
I think you are right. They're more seasoned when it comes to that. Like, they are used to no matter which side. The only thing that makes me nervous about Ohio State versus them is losing your number 1/number 2 receiver. He was the number 1 receiver. And then one guy by the name of Marvin Harrison Jr. kind of took that spot. But Najigba was still a legit number 2. In fact, will be a day 1 wide receiver on the draft board.
Yeah.
He's sitting out for this.
Right.
Because he's prepping for the draft.
Mm-hmm.
So when you lose a weapon like that, no matter how talented you are,
we saw it with Alabama, right?
We saw that too, absolutely. When you lost those guys and you roll out with those, they were 4- and 5-star receivers. They haven't touched the field. This is still college football at the highest level, right?
Yeah.
Huge difference. That's the only part that kind of scares me in this aspect. And in that case, it would be a very close loss for them. I still don't think Georgia's not going to roll over them. I'm just not sold on Georgia in the same sense as they were last year.
Yep.
And I'm going to stick. I'm like at least 70% decided if it is Georgia, Michigan, and it's Michigan that's going to actually roll up Georgia, in my opinion.
Yeah. That'll be some interesting games going on. No love for TCU at all. We got to pick for Ohio State.
I want to do TCU, but if this would have been, I would have picked more of the upset if TCU faced Georgia. I really would have. Michigan when I doubted them, they just spanked everybody,
Yep.
And then I think early on they weren't really facing anybody, so we couldn't really judge it, even though they were blowing them out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they finally started facing some. And then they demolished Ohio State. Right. They took care of business, and there was absolutely no joke in the Big Ten championship game, which isn't usually from that side anyway. But
and you start to see how good the Big 12 was really this year. Kansas just got smoked by Arkansas, right?
That's not over. It's 38-30.
What?
Oh,
yes.
They scored. Holy cow.
There's been updates. Holy shit.
It's got to be close to being done.
38-38.
What?
41 seconds left.
2-point conversion.
Oh my
gosh.
What was it? 20, 18 points, whatever it was.
JT Daniels.
Holy shit.
Isn't that the cat that was in Georgia at one point too?
So, I don't remember the name.
I'm going to have to pull.
No, not JT Daniels.
Oh, sorry. This is Jalen Daniels. My bad. Yeah, stud.
JT Daniels at West Virginia.
38-38. That is insane.
Well, that just took everything I was going to say.
And the 2-point conversion to tie it at 38. That's crazy.
18 unanswered in the fourth.
And then Oregon's playing UNC right now, 14-7.
Not bad. You guys, I did have. We'll do it on the next one. I do have a couple soapboxes I need to jump up on. Not necessarily sports related either, but do either one of you gentlemen have a make sense? If not, I got to lay up for my man here. If not,
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
you told me one this morning, real short and cute, but I laughed my ass off. And it was you, an older statesman, and you might have gotten stabbed or cut or something.
Yeah.
And then his.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, at work one day, perhaps, maybe, I don't know, maybe we were at my house or something. I was working with this older gentleman, and mind you, he used to be like head of maintenance. So,
At your house or wherever it was?
Yeah, wherever it was.
Okay.
So, so you think he'd be good with tools and like, working in this square box about this size. We were both working in it, and we were splicing wires. So I cut the wires on my side, nothing goes wrong. He starts cutting the wires on his side, goes through the wire and cuts my hand. And I go, what the fuck, dude?
What?
He's like, oh, yeah, sorry. And then I was like, yeah, what the fuck are you doing, guy? Like, you fucking cut me. I didn't cut you. I cut my wires fine. Then he was like, well, go ahead, sue me. I don't care. What the heck, man? I'm like, he was getting mad at me that I was mad at him for cutting me. What, do you want me to help you or not? I'm like, not if you want to fucking cut me.
Oh, shit.
I'm bleeding, dude. That right there. That right there. I was fucking bleeding from it.
On
I'm
the knuckle, too,
on the
of course.
knuckle.
Jesus.
He's like, what? I said, I'm sorry. It was an accident. I'm like, I cut the same wires in the same box with your hand next to me, and you're not bleeding. How?
With the fact that he got pissed.
Then he was pissed that I was pissed at him. Like, hold on. I am dripping blood down my hand now.
What the fuck?
Guy, yeah. So it makes sense if you don't think about it.
Right.
It's like, come on.
Used to be a head of maintenance.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that makes
Yeah.
neighborhood watch maintenance or whatever
Basically,
that was.
he'd
I
walk
don't know.
around with a
Yeah.
notepad and pretend that he
Yeah,
was jotting stuff
eat
down.
candy, and that's about it.
Blender, what was it? Blender vibrations or no, the
I don't even know.
blower vibrations looking pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, lower vibration. Yep, they are. Pretty low.
Good
It's not
job.
where you look for them, but yeah.
Good job over there.
Good times.
Fuck. All right. Well, that's about it, boys. It felt
Yeah.
good tonight.
It did.
The OG's in the house, breaking some shit down. I think we're going to go ahead and start to wrap her up. So if you beautiful people out there happen to find us on the interwebs anywhere, make sure to like, subscribe, share, give us a rating, the whole 9 yards. Where's the podcast available?
Anywhere and everywhere available, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and YouTube. YouTube.
Yes, sir. That's right. And we love to tell a good story, just like Rio, just about cutting his knuckle off there by a older, wiser gentleman.
Yeah.
So make sure.
Yeah, slide into our DMs, folks. Tell us those funny stories. We can get it out to all the folks that want to hear it. We do as well.
One final thing I had to give is I think we find out this weekend. It'll be between you and your brother.
Which is hilarious, yeah.
In the 3-gig fantasy draft. It looks like we're probably going to be sending his brother a packet of goodies.
All
No
right.
offense.
I want some shit, too.
No offense.
I want some shit, too.
No offense, my man. Oh, dude, I didn't even tell you. He messaged me out of nowhere. He's like, you might as well send me that gift pack. I'm about to whoop my brother's ass.
That's hilarious. Because he told me the same, like the weekend, because he just played you, right?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, so I'm going to end up playing you in the finals or whatever. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? He's like, I'm about to, because what's your name in that?
What one is that?
Pride, taking your pride. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm about to take Jimmer's pride. So this boy's talking shit every week,
This piece
motherfucker.
of shit.
No, there was another cat that I played this past weekend. He's like, hey, so what do we get for third place? Because I beat him this last weekend. And I'm like, I don't know. We'll probably send something out or whatever. He's like, if you guys want to sponsor, like I've got a thing going on for the disc, because he does disc disc golf and everything
yeah,
like that
Bill.
up there. I'm like, all right, we'll have to talk about it. Well, yeah, we'll
Yeah.
see what happens, man. So
Maybe throw something that way.
yeah, absolutely. But it's been a good time for sure.
Yeah.
You gotta love some fantasy football. But it's cold as shit in here, so we're gonna go ahead and get out of
Man,
here.
it
Thank
is.
you everybody for listening. This is 3 Big Sports.
We out.
Discussions, I've been writing, I love it. All this doubt around me, then but look, I got it right.